I just want to let you know before the interview, nothing's going to be too personal, but if you ever don't feel comfortable with a question, you can just say that you don't want to answer it. And so with that, yeah. So where on the LGBTQ scale do you see yourself? Or
Okay, I'm
ally?
an ally.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
And where do you see the LGBTQ movement in like the next 10 years? Where would you think it would go?
Well, given the surprises that I have seen in the last 20 years, I think that it's going to continue to become more assimilated into the larger population. I think that the issues and problems that have been created through bias, prejudice, and so on are being addressed. The fact that they even brought up marriage, much less to pass legislation that marriage is acceptable in how many states?
37.
37.
You know. In 1990, in the late 70s, it was like, well, we don't have to be concerned with marriage. This is off the radar. They didn't use this term, but off the radar for gays and lesbians, bisexual persons. And here, my goodness, it's passed. So I think that the acceptance of the larger population, and they say particularly younger people, since I certainly had a large number of friends I knew through PFLAG, Parents, Friends of Lesbians and Gays, that were supportive, and these were people, my contemporaries. But they say that my contemporaries are not terribly supporting. Well, I have this large group of hundreds. I think the last I knew, PFA had 80 or 100 chapters, and each chapter has a lot of people in it, so it's a big organization. And yet, my generation are not, quote, not accepting. But as the younger people are, I think that this agency will have less need for being a separate agency. I don't say that it won't. It's never going to go completely away. But yeah, okay. Long answer to short.
Sorry, I don't have the so. So. What do you think the goals were and are now of the LGBTQ movement?
Well, let's see. The goals, certainly, and the goals, I think, right after Stonewall were to stand up for themselves, to make a statement that we're here, we're okay, we're to be accepted as part of the population. We do not want to be harassed anymore. We do not want to be discriminated against. We do not want to be injured and killed. And that has to stop. I think that was the original goal. Original. I mean, that's what came out of the Stonewall riots. And a lot of that has been met, not all of it. I'm sure there are still instances, but those instances are far fewer, and there is far more acceptance. And as to the future, to continue on the building on the progress they've made until now, which has been considerable, in my opinion.
So, I just want to go back to the question before that, and I want to ask a question. So, when you said PFLAG, what is PFLAG?
PFLAG is an organization called Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. It started in the 70s. Yeah, late 70s, early 1980s, when parents became aware. Well, after the Stonewall Rebellion, and parents became aware that they were that their kid sons and daughters were out there making a statement for themselves, and there were parents who wanted to support our children. There were some parents in New York. There were two, Sarah Montgomery and the other woman whose name, Marty, I can't remember her name ever, marched in a gay parade, just the two women. And I don't think they even knew each other. Two mothers said, we're going to stand up for our children. Later in that decade, in other communities, other parents began standing up for their children. And there was this big event in Washington, D.C. in 1978, the gay and lesbian event. And parents, some of the parents of the gays and lesbians were in that event. And so they made contact with each other, and they started saying, okay, we want to visibly support our kids, and also to be there for other parents who are willing to, who have not come to, who have not made it to our place, but who really love their children and have to work through their biases and prejudices. And so it started rather informally, but by 1981 we had enough interaction. Somebody knew somebody who knew somebody, that parents from 8 different cities met for a weekend in Los Angeles and said, we want to have a national federation to support the local groups who are supporting their kids. And the name PFLAG was developed at that conference, and was what became the name for the organization. And that organization still exists and has, I don't know how many, it has several chapters here in just Puget Sound area. It's very large.
So Arleen, just so you know, Arleen is considered one of the founding mothers of the national PFLAG and the founding mother of the local PFLAG. So Arleen's history stretches back to that time.
Julie?
She's not here, Count.
Julie's not here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
She hasn't come in all day, I guess.
She was in briefly but left.
Okay.
And also the other thing is, you know, when you go to gay pride marches, Dane?
Yeah.
Do you ever remember those stickers that said, I am loved, or you are loved?
Okay.
So those are always PFLAG stickers that say you are loved. And so whenever PFLAG comes through Gay Pride Parade, it's the most beloved part of the parade because it represents parents for everybody who love their children.
Yeah.
So it's a very moving, I think it's always one of the most moving moments in the parade. So we're very proud that Arleen has that history.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just about to ask you, were you part of the LGBTQ movement at all?
Yes. I became aware when my first son. I have several children, and several of them are gay or lesbian. And when the first of my children, who is gay, came out to me, I was appalled at how painful it was for him, and that I had not let him know as a child that was okay. I mean, there are different variations in the way we experience our affectional and sexual preferences and our attractions and so on, and that they're fine. Some for same genders, others the opposite. it's okay, either way. And I was appalled that I had not been able to give him that message. And I decided at that time I would make sure that I would work so that changed. And I started through the church council, and then, as I say, the other parents were being active in other communities, and we developed PFLAG as one way. But at the meantime, I also was, when I had the opportunity, became involved in other organizations and groups and to support my children. Including working at working at a Seattle counseling service since 1979. Sometimes just once, or just doing a few things each year, or working full time.
So I can't remember any of the other questions, but I think that was about it. So
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Which is, how do you think this interview was, and what would you suggest for next time? Because I just want to know if I'm going to.
Okay. I have appreciated the opportunity, or I appreciate your interest in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender community, and the persons who are involved. And I appreciate your willingness to come and talk to me or ask me questions. So, and I hope that I've been able to answer some of them for you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.